What's up guys, I'm your host, Elfray Productions, and welcome back to Extinct Locomotive Profiling. If you don't know what this series is exactly, then refer to the previous episode, where I explain it in horrible detail because I was a sophomore in high school. It's been 2 years, so yeah. Link to that will be in the description. Anyways, today's episode is about Southern Pacific's AC-9 2884 class Yellowstones. Now, what is a Yellowstone type steam locomotive? A Yellowstone is a type of articulated steam locomotive having a 2884 wheel arrangement. This means that there are 2 wheels on the lead truck, 2 sets of driving wheels with 8 wheels per driver set, and 4 wheels on the trailing truck to carry the weight of the locomotive's massive and heavy firebox. The 2884 was first used in the United States by the Northern Pacific Railroad in 1928. They ran in a region of the Northern Pacific that ran near Yellowstone National Park, thus the NP deemed them with the name Yellowstone. Now to the AC-9s. These massive mammoths were built in 1939 by Lima Locomotive Works, being numbered 3800 to 3811. They used 63.5-inch diameter drivers, had a boiler pressure of 250 psi, a massive tractive effort of 123,364 pounds, and they sported none other than, you guessed it, a Southern Pacific 3-chime. The AC-9 was one of SP's 2 articulated steam locomotive classes that ran smokebox forward after 1920. They were also Southern Pacific's largest and heaviest steam engines. They were essentially turned around cab forwards in the sense that the wheelbases remained the same except for the 4-wheel truck under the firebox using larger wheels that were more closely spaced, 45 inches versus 33 inches on the cab forward. The AC-9s were partially streamlined, the only articulated steam engines to be so equipped, having skyline casings inspired by Lima's GS series of 484 Northerns, also made for the Southern Pacific. The AC-9s were also equipped with coal tenders, unlike the cab forwards which bared oil tenders. Between 1939 and 1953, all the 12 AC-9 engines were in service between... Wait, what does that say? What does that say?
Tucumcari,
New Mexico, El Paso, Texas, and Tucson, Arizona, where they mainly pulled freight trains and occasionally also passenger trains, such as the Golden State Limited. Between May and August of 1950, they were converted to burn oil instead of coal, and in spring of 1953, 11 of them moved to Southern Pacific's Modoc line between Sparks, Nevada and Alturas, California, where they worked in freight service from 1953 until retirement in early summer of 1956. All were scrapped that same year with none surviving into preservation. Now, I'm going to talk about why I chose the AC-9 for today's video. Let's start off with the wheel arrangement. The 2884 wheel arrangement proved to be efficient and reliable in the United States, yet only 3 of them made it into preservation. Those 3 being Duluth Mesabian Iron Range numbers 225, 227, and 229. All of the other 2884s were scrapped by 1960. That leads me into the second factor, the preserved steam locomotives of the Southern Pacific. Those steamers being a group of 282 Mikados, 060 Switchers, 260 Moguls, 460 10-wheelers, 280 Consolidations, 2 GS Class 484 Northerns, GS4 number 4449, and GS6 number 4460, 410-2 Southern Pacific type number 5021, and AC-12 4882 cab forward number 4294. Out of all the locomotives I listed, most of them are smaller locomotives, with a few exceptions. The closest thing we have to a preserved Yellowstone is a reverse Yellowstone. Essentially, it's the same thing, but yeah, it's reversed. Also, the AC-9 just looks better. The year was 1943. And Southern Pacific AC-9 number 3808 was idle in Southern Pacific's Tucson yard in Tucson, Arizona. The locomotive was to haul an eastbound freight train to El Paso, Texas. The train itself was already set up, and the time was 5:42 a.m. The train needed to be at El Paso by 12:15 p.m. on the dot, so the driver needed to make haste. By 5:51 a.m., 3808 rolled out of the yard en route to El Paso. About 12 miles in, 3808 was rolling down grade, but was steaming somewhat poorly. The engineer put a little more water on the crown sheet to make more steam, but that would be a grave mistake. It looked like a bomb had just gone off. 3808's boiler was separated from the frame entirely and was on the ground. The cab was completely demolished, and the boiler was on its side. The tender, however, managed to suffer minimal damage. It was clear then and there that 3808 had suffered from a boiler explosion. The authorities were contacted almost the moment it all happened, and they showed up shortly after, along with a maintenance of lake crew. The now destroyed AC-9 was cleaned up by the MOW crew and was sent to the Southern Pacific Sacramento shops to see if any repairs could be made. At the time, nothing could be done because the United States was already in World War II, so all the money that the government got went into war bonds and troops on the battlefield, so 3808 was temporarily put into storage. When World War II ended, however, 3808 would eventually be entirely rebuilt and was put back into service. .3808 would later meet what you think would be her demise in 1956, but you'd be mistaken. 3808 was put into storage and was eventually put on static display at Oaks Park in downtown Portland, Oregon. She wasn't actively chosen for display, however. She was picked only because she was the first in the deadline and could be removed with the fewest switching moves. That sounds a little bit familiar, doesn't it? Anyways, 3808 was on display outdoors with minimal protection from the elements and maximum exposure to vandals and other harmful things. As the years went by, she was heavily vandalized and many of her external parts were stolen, such as her whistle and her number plates. As a result, the locomotive quickly deteriorated. However, Jack Holst, a Southern Pacific employee, looked after 3808 along with 3 other steam locomotives: Spokane, Portland, and Seattle number 700, Southern Pacific GS4 number 4449, and Oregon Railroad and Navigation number 197. Holst kept the engine's bearings and rods oiled in case they were ever to move again. Unfortunately, Mr. Holst died in 1972 before the first locomotive, Southern Pacific number 4449, was removed from Oaks Park and restored. In 1975, 15-year-old Chris McIlarney started working on the 3808 as well as 700, cleaning and oiling various parts. He founded the PRPA, otherwise known as the Pacific Railroad Preservation Association, to provide support for the restoration of them. Between 1987 and 1989, Southern Pacific 3808 and SP&S number 700 were moved from Oaks Park to the Southern Pacific's Brooklyn Roundhouse in southeast Portland for the continuation of restoration work. With the support of many individuals and the Burlington Northern Railroad itself, number 700 returned to operation on May 15, 1990, while 3808 returned to operation on June 28, 1992. The mighty mammoth managed a number of excursions since its restoration on June 28th, including a double-header with Southern Pacific GS4 number 4449 in 1994 on the Shasta Daylight route that's now owned by Union Pacific. Until June of 2012, the AC-9 and its 3 companions resided at the Brooklyn Roundhouse. The city of Portland was leasing the roundhouse from its owner, the Union Pacific Railroad. But after the railroad announced plans to demolish the roundhouse to allow expansion of the yard, the engines needed to find a new home. The Oregon Rail Heritage Foundation, with significant support from the city of Portland, raised funds for a new restoration and visitor center adjacent to the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry. The construction of the new Oregon Rail Heritage Center began in October of 2011, and 3808, as well as the other 2 locomotives, were moved to the site of the new engine house and heritage center on June 26, 2012. They were moved indoors on July 28, once the engine house was fully enclosed. The ORHC opened to the public on September 22, 2012. Maintenance of the 3808 continues to be carried out by the PRPA and a team of volunteers. The locomotive was taken out of service in 2017 for its 1472-day inspection as mandated by the FRA. 3808 is expected to be completely restored by late 2025. Well, guys, that does it for today's video, and that also does it for Extinct Locomotive Profiling, Episode 2. If you liked today's video, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. Also, share this video with your friends, so more people can see my content, so I can get monetized and make money off of it. Also, subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss an upload of mine. Also, comment down below what you thought of today's video, and join my Discord server. Link will be in the description below. Anyways, I believe that's all from me. L4A Productions, out.